The movie opens with a woman named Mallory Hayes calling her two children and telling them it's time to move. She calls them boy and girl, no real names, just that. She explains they'll be rowing down a river for days, trying to reach a safe place where other survivors are waiting. But there's one rule that cannot be broken. Their blindfolds stay on the entire time, no matter what they hear, no matter what calls out to them. If those blindfolds come off, they die. With that, Mallory grabs a box with their pet birds and walks them outside, using a string trail to guide them to the riverbank without seeing. She loads them into a small boat and pushes off into the current. This all started 5 years ago. Mallory is a pregnant artist, 8 months in, still healing from a divorce that left her quieter than she used to be. Her sister Jessica shows up one afternoon with an uneasy look on her face. People at the store are panic buying. Something is coming. Everyone seems to know it except Mallory, who has been too deep in her own grief to pay attention to the outside world. She switches on the TV. Every channel is covering the same story. A wave of mass suicide spreading from Siberia, tearing through Europe and moving fast. No disease, no chemical, nothing that makes any scientific sense. Whatever it is, it gets inside people's heads the moment they see it, and it turns them against themselves. Instantly. Mallory brushes it off. It's far away. It isn't her problem yet. Jessica takes her to see Dr. Laffin for a routine checkup. He asks if she's ready to be a mother. She pauses just a little too long before she answers yes. On the way back, Mallory spots a woman outside repeatedly driving her skull into a glass window. The thing from Europe isn't far away anymore. She grabs Jessica and they run. But the city has already turned. The streets are chaos, collisions, screaming, bodies dropping. Jessica fights through it behind the wheel, and for a moment, it looks like they might actually make it out. Then Jessica's eyes go flat. She's staring at something Mallory can't see, something that has already found her. Mallory screams her name. She shakes her. Nothing works. The car flips and crashes. Both sisters crawl out alive. But Jessica never comes back from whatever she saw. She walks into the middle of the street. A passing truck does the rest. Jessica is gone. Mallory has no time to grieve. The streets are getting worse by the second cars exploding, crowds surging, people dying in every direction. She runs with everyone else until the crowd pushes her down. A woman rushes out of a nearby house to help her, ignoring her husband warning. But before she can reach Mallory, the entity takes her mid-step and she walks straight into a burning car. It explodes. A man named Tom pulls Mallory inside before the same thing happens to her. The house already has people: Greg, who owns the place, Douglas, who trusts no one, Charlie, who works at a grocery store, and a few others. Everyone shares theories: demons, the end of the world, an act of God. Nobody has a real answer. But one thing is clear to everyone in that room: looking at the entity means death. A couple inside reaches their son by phone, hears he's in danger, and walks straight back out to find him. But for a parent, none of that matters. They walk out anyway. The TV signal cuts out shortly after. No more news, no more calls. The survivors board up every window. Nobody looks outside. In the present, 6 hours have passed on the river. Mallory keeps everyone covered under a blanket and never stops checking on the birds. When the birds start getting nervous, she hears the entity whisper her name. She ignores it and keeps rowing. Back in the past, a woman named Olympia shows up at the door begging to be let in. Douglas says no. Mallory calls him heartless. Everyone else overrules him. Mallory grabs a rifle just in case, and they all close their eyes until they're sure Olympia is safe. She steps inside and it becomes clear she's also pregnant. 2 women, 2 unborn children, trapped in the same 4 walls. Greg wants to know what's out there. He volunteers to check the outdoor security cameras just to see. The others tie him to a chair in front of the monitors and leave him alone. Greg concentrates, leans toward the screen. A few minutes of nothing. Then his expression changes. They find him on the floor shortly after head smashed, already gone. They destroy every screen in the house immediately. 14 hours on the water. A voice drifts across the river, calm, friendly, saying it's safe to take the blindfolds off. Mallory tells the children to get low and keep their eyes covered. The voice gets closer, says it has food, says the entity is beautiful. Mallory pulls out her gun and fires blindly. All her shots miss. The man climbs onto the boat, grabbing for her blindfold, insisting she just needs to look. She fights him off. A machete ends it. Pay attention, because every thread in this story arrives sounding safe, and the worst one is still ahead. Back in the past, food runs out in the house. With no rescue coming, Mallory, Tom, Douglas, and Charlie decide to make a run to the grocery store where Charlie used to work. They paint the car windows black and navigate entirely by GPS. Halfway there, the GPS detects something surrounding the car. A shadow, a whooshing sound, the whole vehicle shaking. Tom keeps driving, faster, harder. The GPS announces they've made it. They rush inside and don't remove their blindfolds until every window is covered. The group splits and sweeps through the aisles, food, supplies, things for the babies. Mallory spots a cage of birds and takes them. Then a voice erupts from inside the walk-in freezer. A man says he's been trapped in there for days. They open the door just a crack to check. The birds go absolutely wild. The man shoves through, screaming that the entity is beautiful, that everyone needs to see it. Charlie tackles him back inside and holds the door shut. The others lock it. Blood starts seeping out from under the door. Charlie doesn't come back out. That night, as Mallory and Douglas are talking in the kitchen, they hear a noise coming from the garage. Lucy and Felix have taken the only car and disappeared into the night. They are now completely cut off. 24 hours on the water and exhaustion is winning. Mallory drifts too close to a submerged truck. The impact throws Boy into the river, along with their blanket and food. She catches him before he goes under. She always catches them. She docks near the bank and tells the children not to move while she goes into the woods to find supplies. She ties a rope around herself and follows it until she finds an abandoned building, grabs food, a new blanket, whatever she can carry. Then she hears a noise. The string starts shaking. A shadow moves outside. She runs. Behind her, the entity whispers her name through the trees. She fires her gun blindly into the dark just to buy herself distance. The gunshots reach the shore. Girl gets off the boat to find her. The entity finds Girl first soft voice, patient, telling her to just pull the blindfold down. Just look at how green everything is. Her hands are almost there when Mallory grabs her and drags her back. Back in the past, Olympia lets a stranger named Gary through the front door without asking anyone. The house erupts. Tom searches him. Gary explains he ran away from a group of patients who escaped a mental institution, people who can look at the entity without dying, and who are now out there forcing others to look. Douglas doesn't buy a word of it. He pulls his gun. Cheryl knocks Douglas out with a vase before it goes further and locks him in the garage. Gary stays. Olympia apologizes to everyone for causing the chaos. Mallory tells her she did nothing wrong. The two of them, both pregnant, both alone, both terrified, make each other a promise. If one of them doesn't make it, the other raises both children. Mallory gives her a Hello Kitty toy. It's the closest thing to a baby shower any of them can manage. In the present, the little girl is still holding that same toy, the only proof left that Olympia ever existed. As the boat approaches the rapids, Mallory warns the children that what's coming is the most dangerous part of the entire journey. She tells them someone may need to remove their blindfold to navigate through. Both children immediately volunteer. Mallory looks at them, and she cannot choose. She made a promise to Olympia about her daughter, and she cannot bring herself to risk her son either. She decides none of them will look. They'll run the rapids blind and trust whatever comes next. Back in the past, both Mallory and Olympia go into labor at the same time. Tom and Cheryl take the women upstairs. Gary stays downstairs. He opens his bag and pulls out a collection of drawings, horrifying sketches of the creatures. He was never a survivor running from danger. He is one of them. He puts the birds in the refrigerator so they can't warn anyone. Then he starts tearing the newspaper off the windows, one sheet at a time. Douglas sees him from a distance and tries to intervene, but Gary knocks Tom out when he comes downstairs and opens the garage door, hoping to expose Douglas. Douglas covers his eyes just in time. Upstairs, Olympia delivers a girl. Mallory delivers a boy. For a few seconds, the house holds something that feels almost like joy. Gary kicks the door open and throws the window shades up. Mallory turns away in time. Olympia doesn't. She runs to the window, but in her last seconds, she turns back and presses her daughter into Mallory's arms. Gary grabs Cheryl next and forces her eyes open. She's gone within seconds. Douglas breaks free and shoots Gary in the arm, but Gary drives him through the railing with the scissors. The rifle hits the floor. Gary and Tom both go for it at the same time. 2 shots go off. Mallory waits under a blanket, holding both babies. Then footsteps approach. It's Tom. Half a decade goes by. Mallory and Tom have been raising the children together in a house deep in the woods. They have a whole system: strings for supply runs, birds for warning, blindfolds outside, always. The children still have no names. Tom keeps asking. Mallory keeps refusing. Names mean attachment. Attachment means more to lose. One afternoon on a supply run, Mallory hears cars nearby infected people, hunting the uninfected. She and Tom agree they won't go out alone anymore. That night, a voice comes through the radio. A man named Rick, calling from a safe compound down the river. Food, walls, survivors? He says crossing the rapids will require sight. He says to follow the birds, they sense the entity before any human can. Tom wants to go. Mallory doesn't trust it. She hasn't trusted anything new since Gary. Then the infected find them again, this time while the whole family is out together. Tom tells Mallory to take the children and run. She almost doesn't go. Tom holds them off alone until he can't anymore. Then he takes off his blindfold. He clears them out in seconds, and then he turns the consequence on himself. Mallory breaks down, and then she picks herself up, takes the children, and heads for the river. It's time. In the present, 42 hours have passed since they first pushed off into the water. They've finally reached the rapids, and the rapids are everything Mallory feared they would be. She fights to steer through the waves, but the current is too strong. The boat flips. Everyone goes under. Mallory fights through the current and pulls them both to shore soaking, exhausted but alive. No boat anymore. No supplies. Just the 3 of them on foot, blindfolded, moving through the woods one step at a time. The entity circles them in the darkness, whispering, calling their names. Mallory tries to run from it, but she slips and tumbles down a small hill. By the time she gets back up, the children are no longer together. At one point, it uses Tom's voice. The boy almost takes his blindfold off. Mallory finds him just in time. She can't find Girl, so she starts calling out, apologizing for yelling at her earlier. The sound of her voice brings the girl back. They don't stop. They follow the birds. A building. Walls. A door. Mallory pounds on it until her hands hurt. It opens. Rick is real. The compound is real. It turns out the place used to be a school for the blind, and that's exactly why everyone inside survived. They could never see the entity to begin with. Birds fill the sanctuary, working as an alarm system for the whole compound. Dr. Latham is there too, the same doctor from 5 years ago, from the last ordinary morning Mallory can remember. He walks over and congratulates her on the children. Then he asks their names. Mallory doesn't hesitate this time. Olympia. Tom. She opens the bird box and lets them go. For 5 years, she kept everything sealed, shut, her grief, her love, the name she was too afraid to say out loud. Letting those birds go isn't just the end of the journey. It's the first thing she's done that isn't about surviving. It's about finally being willing to live again. If this one got you, subscribe. New recaps every week, every story, every twist, retold.